Hi, and welcome to the BA Sports Podcast. This is going to be episode number 2. I'm your host, Adam, and I have Ty with me. We're a part of the BA Network. We have a good show for you today. We are recording on July 15th, 2016, and on today's show we're going to be talking about Tim Duncan and his legacy. We'll have some Browns and their superstar guest coach. We'll also be talking about Isaiah Crowell and his controversial Instagram post. We'll also be introducing a new segment called Walk a Mile. So that should be a lot of fun, and let's go ahead and get started. How you doing today, Ty?
Not too bad. I think before we start today, we should really just make a mention of the terrible tragedy that happened in France the other day. I mean, there's not much you can say to it. It happens way too often nowadays, but
absolutely,
we just got to say everyone over there is in our thoughts, and that should have happened to no one, no matter race, religion, anything. That's just a terrible thing, and it happens way too often.
So our thoughts are definitely with France. So let's bring things back here. There's also been some news out of Berea, and at this point in the off season, they say no news is good news. Well,
right.
Unfortunately, there's been some news about the Browns running back Isaiah Crowell. He posted a pretty gruesome picture on his Instagram. It was about an officer getting his throat slit. He has since apologized and vowed to donate a one-game check, which is about $35,000, to the Dallas Fallen Officer Foundation. So he's trying to make up for it.
At this point, it's just a PR move. I think his agent's telling him to do this. That's unforgivable, in my opinion. I mean, you can have your own opinion about these subjects, but I don't want to say incite violence, but really that's what it was, showing
absolutely
an officer getting his throat slit. I think doing any kind of that should be an automatic cut from the team and suspension from the league, in all honesty. If I had to throw down that punishment, that's what I would say. That's unforgivable in my opinion. I will definitely not be rooting for him this upcoming season. I do not want him on my team. The Cleveland Police Union has threatened to not work Browns games this year, and I don't blame them at all.
Yeah, I mean, as an officer, every day your goal is to be able to come home to your family safe.
Right.
And then when you have someone like Isaiah Crowell posting pictures ending officers' lives, especially with everything that's going on in the media, why would you want to go and protect someone that is, I mean, I'm not saying rooting for you to get hurt, but is not showing you any support?
Exactly. And my family's full of officers. They have always been full of officers, and my mom works for the sheriff's department currently. I understand that there are bad cops. There are.
Yeah.
But there are thousands of good cops, and posting a picture like this does not help this whole situation that's going on in America right now. I mean, no matter what you want to say or think, there's obviously a situation going on with underlying race issues. We won't get into that too much because we are a sports podcast, but
I don't want to get too political, but I do have one comment on that whole subject.
Okay.
And to me, hate doesn't solve hate.
Exactly.
That's all I'm going to say on it. You can take it how you want.
Exactly.
But hate doesn't solve hate. And Crowell, I don't know if I think that he should be cut. I mean, obviously I do not agree in any way, shape, or form with his post. I mean, I appreciate the $35,000 that he's donating to the Dallas Fallen Officers. Like you said, it's definitely a PR move. I don't know what else there is to say.
Exactly. There's not much else to say. Do you think we'll see any sort of suspension or anything handed down by the team for this? Or
I don't think so. I mean, I know that the Browns came out and were very public about how against it they were.
Right.
And so they're clearly not happy. But I don't see anything happening with his job.
Right. And I'm not sure, did you catch the SB's intro the other day with
LeBron,
the Banana Boat team, LeBron, D-Wade, Chris Paul, and Carmelo Anthony in their big speech?
Yeah.
That's what athletes should be doing. They should be making speeches like that. They should be...
They're put on a platform, and for them to be able to use their voice for good is, like what LeBron and Melo and CP3 and D-Wade did. They're trying to spread, the word in a good way. Like LeBron said, go give back to your community,
Exactly. And that's the way athletes should handle this. That's the way with anyone with any following should do this, is promote peace and cooperation. Don't promote violence. That's just, I don't see how you can do that as a human being, is promote violence against another human being.
I'm with
But
you 100%.
some people are like that. I think we've spent a little too much time on this subject. I think we know how most people stand on this subject.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll continue with Berea news,
All
and
right.
it's more bad news, unfortunately. Desmond Bryant, the defensive end, has been placed on IR while he tore his pec during an off-season workout. Yeah, so it's going to be kind of rough. He signed a 5-year deal with the team in 2013. Last year, he led the Browns with 6 sacks.
That's pretty. I'll just throw that out there. 6 sacks is pretty sad to be leading the team.
Yes, absolutely.
That's very unfortunate, but still our leading.
I was
pass rusher.
pretty excited to see what he could do under Ray Horton.
Right,
You know,
yeah.
bringing in a new defensive coordinator
Right.
that's aggressive as Ray Horton is. I mean, getting away from Jim O'Neill. Anybody's going to be better for that. Anybody on the defense is better just not having Jim O'Neill as the defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
But
We can all agree with that.
Desmond Bryant, I mean, I think it's a huge loss for the defensive line. I've seen other things on Twitter and stuff saying that they don't really think it's a big loss, but I do. I think he's a player out there. He's a force to be reckoned with. And,
Right.
I mean, you look at his backups. It's most likely between Carl Nassib, the rookie, or the second-year Xavier Cooper. As his replacement, because Danny Shelton's got his spot on the line secured.
Right.
John Hughes has obviously earned his spot on the line.
Right.
So if we're doing a 3-4 type hybrid under Ray Horton, which is what he's traditionally done in the past, that third defensive lineman, I gotta say, it's between Carl Nassib or Xavier Cooper.
Who do you see winning that battle?
Between that battle, I liked what Cooper's shown. He's shown flashes last year.
I agree with that.
I would like to see him, take that next step and absolutely own this chance to start. That would be really fun to watch. But I wouldn't doubt if an off-season move was made. If we, once cuts happen, once teams start dwindling down the roster to the 53, the Browns very well may go pick up somebody there to try to help them out.
Do you think it will be more of a defense line by rotation, by committee this year?
I could definitely see that.
Especially with a player of his caliber going down, maybe all the backups kind of just share that starting lineup almost.
I can definitely see that. And we do have the rookies. We have a lot of rookies coming in on defense with the Carl Nassibs. We have Emmanuel Ogbah, too, which I think he's going to be an outside linebacker in our defense.
Okay.
But, him, Kruger, and...
we still got Nate Orchard on the team.
Nate Orchard, yeah. So, we will have a lot of pass rush. And I think the Browns' defense is going to surprise a lot of people this year. I really do. Just getting away from the Jim O'Neill defense, because from everything I've read and everything I've heard, he just made it too complicated. Players just did not know what they were supposed to be doing under him.
And the Browns' defense was great under Ray Horton when he was first year. His first stint here, how many Pro Bowlers did we have on defense that year? We had quite a few.
Yeah,
and granted, they may have been better players, but still, he made that defense look amazing that one year. Our defense was great.
And I look forward to him coming back. Ray Horton is a great coach. But speaking of coaches, there's a guest coach coming to Berea on July 28th.
And who would that be?
It's going to be the one and only Chad Ochocinco Johnson.
The former Cincinnati Bengal?
The former Bengal. Yeah, he announced on Twitter that he talked to Hugh Jackson, and Hugh Jackson is going to be bringing him in as a route running specialist.
Really?
Yeah, so what do you think about that?
I like the move. I think we don't really have any veteran leadership in that wide receiver group. I feel like he may be more of a, maybe not so much a coach as a peer, where he's still in shape and he can show these guys how to have that swagger that he obviously had. As Browns fans, that obviously irritated us to no end, seeing all those dances.
Him jumping into our dog pound.
Exactly. We hated that, but I'm sure as a Bengal fan, they loved seeing that stuff. And maybe some of that will run off on our young guys.
Absolutely.
How many receivers do we have this year? Rookie receivers, or young receivers?
4 of them. 5 if you include Seth the Valve, but he's going to be a tight end. So.
And then we still have Taylor Gabriel. We still have all these young guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think having that veteran leadership will be in there, and he was a great route runner in Cincinnati. That's what made him special.
Yeah.
He was a top receiver for several years, and I don't know. I don't think this is a bad thing at all.
I don't either. I think he's going to run with this opportunity, and if you follow Chad Johnson on Twitter, you'll see that he's been wanting to get into coaching. He's talked about it, but he feels that his past is preventing him from being able to do that.
Well, maybe this is sort of an audition for him.
It could be. And I think with a guy with the talent that he has and the knowledge that he has and the success that he had, why not give him a chance?
Right.
Why not? I mean, if he comes in and makes a joke, you can just say, see you later.
There's downsides to this move at all.
Right,
I mean, it's only upsides. I really don't see any downsides.
Except, I mean, I'd like to see him teach him a couple touchdown celebrations, too, if we can actually get in the end zone this year.
I don't think we can afford those penalties as it is, so maybe we should hold off on those for a little bit.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun.
All right, so I think that's about it for the NFL we got this week, right? I think we're moving on to some NBA and our new little segment we came up with called Walk a Mile. So what we're going to be doing for this is we're going to be looking at different situations around sports and looking at it from their fans' perspective. So not from our, obviously, Cleveland bias.
Right.
We're going to be looking at it
a whole different perspective. We're taking the classic line of, you can't judge anyone until you walk a mile in their shoes.
Right.
So we're just going to take a walk in their shoes. So that's why we're going to call it Walk a Mile, and I think we can have a lot of fun with this.
And our first subject of this new segment is how New York Knicks fans are feeling. We didn't really talk about this last week, but they had quite a big free agency too.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they've had a couple good additions to their team. With the Derrick Rose, Joakim Noah. I like Brandon Jennings.
That's an underrated pickup. I mean, he was great in Detroit before he tore his Achilles, I believe.
Right.
He looked great up there. I don't think he had that great of a year last year. I think he ended up in Orlando. I'm not really 100% sure. I didn't follow his story too much.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Him coming to New York, I feel like, is a great backup point guard to Derrick Rose. And I feel like
he's a player that's had success in the league.
Exactly.
As a fan, that's what I'd be looking at. I'd be like, he's been there, he's done it.
Right.
He might not have done it consistently, but when he's put in the right situation, he's made plays. So that's what I would be excited about as a fan. Him, Derrick Rose, Melo, Porzingis, and Noah. That's a whole lot better than what they've had before.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And I'm feeling pretty good about this team if I'm a fan. I'm a little iffy on Derrick Rose still because who wouldn't be after the last 4 or 5, 6 years with his injury history? But this is the first time they've had a point guard since Jason Kidd, and that was the corpse of Jason Kidd when he was 40 years old. Like, they're gonna have a young, explosive point guard again. And that's what you need in New York. New York's the city of point guards. I mean, they had Stephen Marbury. Obviously, he wasn't that good, and he was quite outspoken, but he was still a good point guard. And I feel like that's what they need is a good point guard who can help distribute to Melo, who can help distribute to Porzingis, who can run a pick and roll with Porzingis. I feel like I would be so happy with this.
Me too. As a Knicks fan, if I was a Knicks fan, you look back and they have not had an MVP play for their team, not just be named on their team, but play for their team since like the 70s, I believe.
That's unbelievable.
And so as a Knicks fan, if I see Derrick Rose on my roster, I'm excited. I don't care about his injury history. I mean, it's always going to be there in the back of my mind, but I'm excited because I know I'm thinking of Derrick Rose 5 years ago, and I'm trying to picture that player on my team with Melo and Porzingis, and it's only going to let Porzingis grow as a player, having that talent around him and not having defenses focused just on him.
Oh, yeah.
That won't, it'll help his development as a player. And I think, again, Derrick Rose having Melo and Porzingis on his team and not having to be the focal point like he was so much in Chicago. Yeah, he had Jimmy Butler, but when defenses looked at the Chicago Bulls, the first person they looked at was Derrick Rose.
100%. And then also from the Bulls, they got Mr. Joakim Noah. So,
as a fan, New York Knicks fan, I'm trying to put myself in there so hard. Because I hate Joakim Noah. But if I was a Knicks fan, I'd be pretty excited.
Really?
I would instantly stop hating him because he has that attitude. You know what I mean? Like he's going to set that attitude. He'll put a little bit of fear in their team. He's not going to go out and score 20 points. That's not what you're getting out of Joakim Noah. You're going to get someone that's going to grab you some rebounds and play some defense.
See, I like that. But what I don't like is the 4-year, $72 million contract we just gave him.
No.
I mean, this is not Joakim Noah from 2013 where I forget what year, but he finished 5th in MVP voting. He was the Defensive Player of the Year. He was amazing. Great passer. Great rebounder. I mean, when we played in the playoffs last year, us as the Cavaliers, he was missing wide open layups left and right. He has no confidence left, or at least he didn't a couple years ago. So that 4 years, $72 million makes me really nervous. He does bring that swagger. He does bring that intensity. He may be a great locker room president. It's a great change of scenery for him, but I don't know how that affects their cap situation moving forward.
Yeah, 4 years, $72 million. It's a different world in the NBA now than it was last year.
That is true.
I mean, with the cap jumping, and it's only going to go higher. Who knows? 2 or 3 years from now, we might look at this Joakim Noah deal and be like, "Wow, that's all he got."
I mean,
with the uptrend of the salary, who knows? But so I'm gonna let that one slide.
Okay.
It's New York. It's the management. It's Phil Jackson. That's his decision. As a fan, I'm gonna be looking what's on the court, not what they're making, and I'm gonna be excited about having that defensive presence down there.
Okay. Do you think they're a playoff team this year?
I do. I think they'll make the playoffs. They're nowhere near a championship contender.
Right.
As a Knicks fan, I'm thinking upside of a 4 seed. But
really,
as a Cavs fan, I'm thinking 7-8 seed.
Yeah, I agree with that. You know how New York fans are; they always have the optimism. So yeah. I'm sure they're thinking pretty good playoff picture. But again, I think the rest of the league sees them as that 8 seed if they make it, which I'm not entirely convinced they will because of the possibility of injuries.
Yeah,
I feel like if this team stays together, they could do a 7-8 seed. But
another thing we talked about off air is who they got coming off the bench.
Right, exactly. Not much depth in that team.
Yeah.
Which, if we see a Derrick Rose injury, if we see another Melo injury, if we see a Joakim Noah injury,
who's coming in to fill their shoes?
Exactly. I mean, all these players are super injury prone. So,
but as a fan, I mean, unless you're a Cleveland fan, you don't think of that stuff.
Right.
Cleveland fans think of that stuff because it happens way too often. But if you're a New York Knicks fan, you're gonna be excited about adding an ex-MVP. You're gonna be excited about adding, a defensive player of the year caliber player.
Right.
And you're getting a Brandon Jennings, and you're making it that much easier for Melo and Porzingis, and they're not gonna have to do everything themselves.
Right. So I think overall we think the Knicks definitely improved. I mean, that's without question. Is they improved? Definite playoff contenders, I guess. I mean, we can definitely see them fighting for playoff seeds. So overall, I mean, I'd be pretty happy as a Knicks fan right now. I really would be.
I would be too. I mean, I would hope that there's no Knicks fans out there chanting championship because they're not there quite yet. But who knows? I mean, they might be on the right path.
Right. Especially with Porzingis there. I mean, that kid's going to be amazing. He's going to be amazing. All right, so what other NBA news we got? I think the next big thing we got is the Draymond Green issue we had over the weekend. Yeah,
Draymond Green getting arrested for an assault charge. Reportedly hit a Michigan State football player, Jermaine Edmondson, who's now no longer with Michigan State. He was granted a full release and is going to be playing his senior season elsewhere.
Okay.
But so, what do you think about this Draymond Green assault?
I've heard a couple different stories. I've heard the cornerback from Michigan State is from Canton, Ohio.
Oh, really?
So he most likely is a Cavs fan. So I've heard that he may have been saying some stuff to Draymond. And
if that's the case, you go, Jermaine.
Yep. But we all know how people can get around alcohol and stuff like that.
Right. I seen it was something about it was his Jermaine's birthday, and he was trying to celebrate his birthday, and then the altercation happened.
From what I've heard from different stories and from different sources is they were in a bar, one of the popular bars in East Lansing, and he was talking with his girlfriend and friends, him being Jermaine, and Draymond Green walked through and did a little shoulder check to Jermaine, and he said, "Hey, can you please say excuse me?" Draymond then got in his face, ordered his crew, I guess, to intervene, and they ended up choking out him and his girlfriend.
Oh, wow.
This is all from his police report. So we all know how one-sided this is going to be from him.
Yeah.
So that happened the first night. The day the assault took place was on the second night. They were at a different bar in East Lansing, and Jermaine saw Draymond talking to his roommate and went up to Draymond and said, "Hey, man, last night wasn't cool." At this point, Draymond then slapped him, not punched him, open hand slapped him, and the cop showed up. No one called the police, from what I've heard. The police were there outside the bar anyways.
Okay.
So, how would you feel? What do you think? Should there be a punishment for Draymond? Should he still be on Team USA? Should he be fined for anything? Because all he had was $200 bail to get out.
$200 bail to a professional athlete is basically like saying, "Hey, give me 2 pennies." You know,
Exactly.
that's absolutely nothing. As far as a punishment goes, I guess I'm up in the air on it. I can't say he should go unpunished for it. Obviously, he did something that's wrong, and anytime you do something wrong, you should be punished for it. As far as getting kicked off of USA Basketball, I don't think I'd go that far.
See, neither do I.
Maybe suspend him a game of the Olympics or something along those lines.
I don't even think that, in all honesty. I don't think the NBA should... maybe the NBA should intervene a little bit, maybe one game, but I feel like this should just be the legal system taking place.
Yeah.
I feel like this was just... It just happened. I mean, we've all been at bars before and seen a fight. It's an unfortunate thing when you mix alcohol with people, especially...
The people that can't hold the alcohol and
especially
can't contain themselves.
So I believe it just happens. I mean, it really is a terrible thing for a player to do, as a professional athlete, when they're supposed to be role models, to go and slap someone, which really gets me is the slap. It wasn't a punch. It was a full-on slap.
Open-fisted,
open-handed slap.
Yeah.
So, but...
And
I see a fine from the league. I don't see any suspension. I don't see any suspension from USA activities. I think he'll just get off of a fine, in all honesty.
You're probably right. To me, it kind of goes to the way with how we opened today's podcast, talking about Crowell and all that stuff. These guys are on a platform, and people are always looking up to them. So when you're on that platform, you might... I think the legal system could use that to their advantage and set an example in a way.
Right.
And kind of say, hey, it's not okay to do this stuff. And, all the little kids watching, seeing that Draymond Green does it, instead of them going, oh, yeah, I can slap somebody in a bar and pay $200 bail and, maybe a little bit of a fine. No. If I slap somebody, I'm going to have to sit out a game. I'm missing part of the Olympics.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
I'm going to jail
even.
Right. Which I think we both can agree won't happen. He will not go to jail. He can afford a great legal team, But yeah, I agree with that 100%.
Yeah.
So I think this is our biggest subject of the day is Tim Duncan announced his retirement.
Yes, he did.
Which is really, I mean, he's one of the game's staples these last 20 years. Like, seeing him gone from the league is going to be a very weird thing.
And I think it's going to be one of those things that you don't realize what you have till it's gone.
Right.
Because Tim Duncan, the way he was... He's so quiet down there in San Antonio. He doesn't really make his presence known off of the court. He's a very humble person. He's very quiet, stays out of the spotlight. But it's going to be a whole different league. No Kobe, no Tim Duncan.
Right.
It's going to be
two
weird.
of the biggest staples. I mean, I don't think we can say enough about how great Tim Duncan was. In my opinion, I think both of our opinions, the greatest power forward to ever play.
Oh, without question.
Great defensive player. Great. I mean, he's still a great defensive player. I bet he could still. He obviously is on the tail end of his athletic prime, but he can still come in and put up meaningful defensive minutes still.
Yeah.
Which is amazing to me at his age and being in the league for this long. It really is just.
19 years.
Yeah.
All with the same team, too. And I think that's another feat.
Yeah, exactly.
In today's day and age, staying with one team for 19
Which
years.
I absolutely love. I mean,
I do too.
We obviously felt the effects of that with LeBron leaving.
And I was saddened to see Dwayne Wade leave Miami for this reason, just because you don't see players stick it out in one place for their whole career.
And I think him, Manu Ginobili, and Dirk Nowitzki are the last of that breed. I think players flip teams too much now. I think they chase the money. We saw Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
Russell Westbrook probably going to leave in free agency or trade. I mean, all these players just hop teams so much, especially in their later years when they still think they can play. So they may go to a non-contender, or they ring chase like Ray Allen did, or
David West
is right now, exactly. But I mean, it really is a great feat. That is also amazing.
And another thing about Tim Duncan, not only did he, stay all 19 years with the Spurs, he might have been the last 4-year player in college. Yeah. That, at least that's a big name. Anyways,
I think Dame Lillard's up there. He was a 4-year player.
Okay,
but,
yeah, you're right there. You got
But one of the last. We can both agree on that.
Yeah.
With all these one-and-dones or two-and-dones, I mean, you just don't see it anymore. You really don't. I don't think it's for us to judge if it's a good thing or bad thing. I think there's merits to both, in all honesty. But
Because most kids that are making that jump to the NBA after 1 year, they came from nothing.
Exactly.
And so if you're throwing millions of dollars, and if
They're
you
gonna
threw
take
millions of dollars in my face, I'm taking it.
Oh, yeah,
right now.
100%.
I would be a one-and-done player if I had the ability.
Exactly. And I take that $1 million and go back to college if I needed to right after.
You got a whole off season to go back to school. You can make it work. But back to Tim Duncan.
Yep.
He was drafted number 1 overall in 97. Like I said, he was there for all 19 years. One of the things that stands out to me is he's one of only 3 players to win over 1,000 games in his career. He's the only one that's done it on one team.
Wow.
And also in all 19 years, playoff appearances. 19 playoff appearances in 19 years. The San Antonio franchise is just, you can say the Patriots are there with them, but they're not.
Right.
There's nobody in the same book as the San Antonio Spurs.
With the coaching, with the reloading of talent year after year. Right. I mean, we all thought they were done in 2007 and 2009. I mean, you go through all these years.
They just keep going back.
They get Kawhi. They get LaMarcus Aldridge. They get Paul Gasol this year. They just keep reloading.
They do.
It really is nothing short of amazing of how well run this organization is as a team. And you can say that you give credit to the owners for staying out of it. You give credit to Greg Popovich. You give credit to R.C. Buford, their general manager. It's just amazing how well-oiled that machine is.
Yeah, and because of the success of that franchise, it obviously led to Tim Duncan having a very successful
right,
career.
Very successful.
So the question I want to ask you is, he had the best career since Michael Jordan?
See, this I keep going back and forth. I think he's had the best overall career, but I don't think he's the best player. I think LeBron James still takes that.
100% with you there.
I mean, we can say Tim Duncan had a better career because of all the championship appearances and just
five rings. Let's run it down Tim Duncan's achievements. He's got 26,000, almost 500 points, 15,000 rebounds, 3,000 blocks. Only him and Kareem have ever done that.
Right.
So, I mean, right there puts you at the top of the list. 15 all-defense selections, 15 all-star games, 5 championships. What more can you ask for out of a career?
Nothing.
Like I said, over 1,000 games. The only 2 that you could compare career-wise with Tim Duncan in my eyes, you could look at Kobe. He's got the 4 rings. He's got an MVP. He's got 18 All-Star games.
15 All-NBA selections for each of them.
Right. And then, I mean, obviously, Kobe scored more points than Tim Duncan. Right. 33,643 for Kobe.
But that just comes with the position, I think.
I mean, Tim Duncan as a big man, you're not going to score. And Kobe, obviously, is very well known for shooting the ball.
Yes.
And it kind of surprised me to see that Kobe Bryant in his career has 6,306 assists. But, if you're comparing careers, I don't think that there's a comparison.
But best players since Jordan, I'll give him best career so far, but I don't think he'll last very long. I mean, LeBron's going to overtake that just with the longevity he's going to put up.
Right. LeBron's only 13 years in as opposed to the 19.
Exactly. So he potentially has another 6 or 7 years left to add to his legacy, and with the way it's looking, it's not looking like he's slowing down.
No.
I mean, everyone thought his decline was coming this year or last year or the year before. Everyone always says this is year LeBron James is going to decline. And everyone said that about Tim Duncan too. And no one noticed the decline in Tim Duncan until this year.
Right.
That's when he started looking a worse player than before.
Yeah.
So I feel like at the end, LeBron's going to have the better career. I feel like LeBron's currently the better player, which I think we can all agree on. So it's definitely close. I think it's closer than a lot of people think, just because Duncan's so underrated as a player.
And he's so quiet. You put him in a big market, Tim Duncan is going to be so much more of a figure. You know what I mean? But he's so quiet, and he's down in little San Antonio, which market-wise is a very little place. You put a Tim Duncan in L.A., and he accomplishes what he's accomplished in his career.
Yeah.
And the talk is completely different.
Exactly. It really is amazing what city you play in can have such a significant impact. I mean, like we said, it is what it is now. We still consider him one of the best power forwards of all time. But if he's in a New York, a Miami, a Chicago, a LA, is he considered one of the best player of all time with these stats?
I think they would talk about it.
Exactly.
I think they would talk about it.
It really is amazing, just the greatness he's shown and just the long-time dominance he's shown over his career.
And Tim Duncan is not the only one that's been able to show that through a career.
Right.
I mean, we might be switching sports here, but Serena Williams winning her 22nd Grand Slam title.
That's amazing.
As a single, yep.
That is amazing. I don't follow tennis a lot.
I don't hardly at all. I mean, I when I'm watching ESPN in the morning and it shows tennis, I'll be like, all right, what did Serena Williams do?
Right.
Because she's the one name I recognize.
Exactly.
And 22 Grand Slam wins. She's also won 14 double Grand Slam titles and 2 mixed titles, so 38 total Grand Slam titles. I mean, we're talking about the best female athlete that's probably ever lived.
Oh, by far. I think there's not even a debate anymore. I think you could maybe argue something, maybe with Ronda Rousey, maybe with Lisa Leslie, but just the dominance she showed, it's nothing short of amazing.
And not only is it what she brings on the court, but what she does off of it. She's very, very charitable. I can't even begin to list you all the things that she does with her charity. She's built schools in Kenya. She helps fight breast cancer, part of the Elton John's Aid Foundation. There's just so many things to even talk about. I don't even know where to begin, other than to just we really are lucky to live at a time right now with so many great players in so many different sports.
Right.
And Serena Williams is right there at the top of the list.
I mean, yeah, in our time we're seeing obviously the best female athlete of all time. We're seeing one of the best basketball players, obviously one of the top 3 basketball players of all time. We're seeing some of the best quarterbacks of all time, and Tom Brady and Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
Some of the best quarterbacks. I mean, there's so many great athletes that I don't think people look at and appreciate right now until they're gone. Because when LeBron James is gone, there's not going to be another LeBron James. When Serena Williams is gone, there's not going to be another Serena Williams.
Right. I can't wait, 50 years from now to be telling my grandkid stories about watching LeBron James and Serena Williams and the Peyton Manning stuff like that's stuff that's going to happen. We're going to be talking about them 50 years from now.
It's really awesome when you think about it, just seeing these people play.
Like I said, we're very lucky to live at this sports time in history.
Right. So I think that's about all we have for this week.
It's been fun. Number 2, things went a little bit better today, tech wise.
Yeah, technical issues have definitely been worked out thanks to
Eric
again.
Yeah, Eric
shout out for
hooked
Eric.
us up.
We actually have 2 mics this week instead of sharing one, so that's definitely a plus. So if you're more interested, keep listening. Share our podcast on social media. That'd be great. And if you want to see more information about us, you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I think we're looking into getting Snapchat soon, possibly.
Right. Like we said last week too, we're aiming for once a week. We're trying to record once a week. We're looking in the time frame of 30 to 45 minutes because we don't want to take up your whole day.
Yep. So I think that's a great length right now. Maybe in the future we can expand. But yeah, so if you like the podcast, follow, share. Check out our website, which is
thebaobserver.com.
All right, that has a lot more information. And thank you for listening this week, and we'll see you next week. Thank you.
See you guys.
Bye.